The departure of PERKZ from G2 Esports has been the biggest news of the offseason. It's not every year that arguably the greatest European player of all time leaves the team he put on the map and crosses the Atlantic to join the LCS. Cloud9 are locking in a mid laner who will instantly become the strongest player in the league, and expectations should be sky high.
It's PERKZ, baby! Knock, knock! Open the hell up! The Nexus is the target!
Just look at what PERKZ has accomplished in his 5 years playing with G2 in Europe's top league. He's won the LEC 8 times, earned an MSI title, reached the World Championship Finals, and went to World Semifinals twice. He accomplished a significant portion of that as the undisputed best player on his team too, until he invited a rival to join him by convincing Caps to leave Fnatic and role-swapping to bot lane so Caps could stay comfortable. No one in the history of European League of Legends has won as much as PERKZ. There are 17 players in Europe's LCS era who have played 100 or more games in Europe with a 60% or higher win rate, and PERKZ stands out above them all. There are only 2 players who deserve to be in the conversation alongside PERKZ for the greatest player in European history. One is Caps, and the other is Rekkles. Rekkles hasn't won quite as much as PERKZ or Caps, but his sky-high career KDA, high kill participation, and incredibly low death share show not only how cleanly he plays, but how crucial he has always been to his team. In laning outcomes and damage output, PERKZ and Caps step out ahead of Rekkles, but that might have something to do with differences between the mid and bot lane positions. When you weigh out the success and influence of all 3 players, it's clear that Rekkles deserves to be in the conversation, but with all due respect to him, the greatest of all time discussion has to come down to PERKZ and Caps. Choosing between them isn't as straightforward as you might think. To draw useful comparisons, we need to separate out the games they played in the mid lane from the ones they played bot. In case you'd forgotten, Caps did swap with PERKZ and go bot for the 2020 spring split before they swapped back for the rest of the year. The first thing you'll see in the numbers is how eerily similar their mid lane statistical profile is. PERKZ edges out Caps in KDA, kill participation, and gold plus experience difference at 10 minutes, but only slightly. He also picks up a bit more farm than Caps, but again it's pretty close. In damage output, PERKZ has slightly higher damage per minute, but Caps has had higher damage shares. From these data points we get a picture of PERKZ as a more straight-up, resource-intensive carry, while Caps accomplishes a little less head-to-head in lane and spends less time CSing, but is just as important in dealing out damage. That matches the eye test of the modern, map-active style Caps plays, and lines up especially well with what he did this summer and at the 2020 World Championships, which I broke down in a lot more depth in a previous episode of Run It. The bot lane stats comparisons get a lot more interesting. Caps put up a far higher kill participation in his one split as a bot laner, but his laning outcomes were actually in the negative. His biggest deficits came on Ezreal, Misfortune, and Varus. Actually, his laning numbers are even a bit inflated because of a troll game at the end of the split where he played Aatrox and picked up plus 2200 GXD. The reality is that Caps just wasn't that great in lane as a bot laner. I'm not saying he was terrible, but PERKZ was definitely better. When you get into the mid and late portions of the game, Caps looked a lot better in the bot lane. He didn't pick up as much farm as PERKZ, partly because of playing 5 games on Senna, but to his credit, Caps managed to pump out a ton of damage anyways, especially on Syndra, Ziggs, Kog'Maw, and Ezreal. Caps' reliance on playing mages and poke champions in the bottom lane and his difficulties in the early game were part of what led G2 to put him back mid, because PERKZ had shown that he was a more capable and flexible bot laner, and G2 was a better team with PERKZ in that position. For his part, PERKZ was doing very well in mid this spring. He led LEC mids in KDA in the regular season, was 3rd in gold plus experience difference at 10 minutes, and finished 2nd in damage per minute. His skill and flexibility and the diversity in his champion pool were important reasons why G2 were still able to win the spring title despite struggling a little bit, relatively speaking, in the regular season and having to come through the lower bracket. If Cloud9 fans are concerned that they might be receiving a depleted version of mid lane PERKZ or that he's coming to NA for some kind of retirement arc, his spring split performance should dispel those concerns. PERKZ says he's coming to dominate North America, and I expect him to do exactly that.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching my off-season coverage. It's been quite fun sort of chasing all these different rumors, talking about what the league could look up to me, how the league could look up to me, which honestly they should. What the league could look like next year. And I wouldn't be able to do all this stuff if it wasn't for Alienware. Look at this beautiful lineup of Alienware stuff. You can check them out at alienware.com/Travis. There's a link in the video description below. You can use Travis10 off Q4 as your code to save 10%. And there's going to be some awesome Cyber Monday, Black Friday stuff coming out from them soon, I hear. I can't give you the secret yet on what they are, but it'll be a lot less expensive for you than spending on some of these EU imports. Let's put it that way.